Hello and welcome. I'm Bill Wake. We're here working on a tool I'm calling DKT, and the idea is you're going to take a picture of some index cards and then we're going to magically do some stuff with them. I'm not quite sure where it's going yet, but we made the first steps towards taking pictures of rectangles, or at least analyzing pictures of rectangles, and I want to move that to the user interface. So we did some of this in sort of a spike mode, but I want to get a little closer to a real interface for now. All right, so let's go over to the IDE. Okay, so let me just kick off a run of this. I don't think it'll stop us for the moment, but all right. Let's see. And then another thing, Astrid, who's been showing up lately here, has sent me a interesting suggestion, and that's this site here. I didn't get a lot of time to look at it. I just enough to kind of bring up the link and say, oh, could be interesting for us. It's someone doing some exploration of this vision framework that we're using. And I know at some point we'd have to tune properties. And it looks like they've done a lot of work to, give you some insight into how it selects things. And I think this isn't really my current focus, but this is a handy thing for us to have in our pocket. And if we get stuck on some things, we'll come back to it. I know we saw that some rectangles were not being detected, others were. So I was happy for ones that were, but there were some that don't get detected. And it looks like playing around with some of these parameters could help us do that. For instance, we know the aspect ratio of a 3x5 card. And I often use the back of business cards or occasionally Post-its. And we could probably figure out some range of aspect ratios that made it pretty clear that this was sort of a story card. So we'll come back to this thing at some point. But thanks, Astrid. That's a nice find. Okay. Where is it running? Okay, let me just put this on the next window over. Okay. So what we have now is I've hard-coded a picture, and we pulled the parameters from a search, and the vision identified this rectangle and others. It did not find all, whatever this is, 13 or 14. So something's not right, but it came in pretty close. We believe we've got coordinates right because we tried the coordinates applied against several of the cards, and they seemed okay. So that's hard-coded. When I say go, over here, we get what it's found. Adjust that a little. Maybe a lot. Okay. That's something we printed. That's some sort of startup thing. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 out of 13 rectangles identified, apparently. We haven't tried all these values. But when you hit go, we run the vision analysis and we get this. Like I said, the one we have so far is just hard-coded. 0.44, okay, that's the last one. 0.439, I just rounded. 0.66, 0.17, 0.19. Okay, so the bounds are actually a little tighter, but that was enough to verify that, or at least to convince myself for now that I think I have the coordinate system right. It took a little flipping around and doing so. I'm careful not to make a solid statement on it, I guess. All right. So what I would like to do is move this to the UI. So right now the UI, we create a rectangle from a file, yacht1.jpg. If you've been following me for a while, we did a yacht game, which is basically Yahtzee, the commercial game, trademark, whoever, took their inspiration from this dice game Yacht that's been played for a while. And those cards, they're stories I wrote for the Yacht game. And I had a couple arrangements. So we have a second one. Let's bring that up. Okay, this one I organized vertically instead of horizontally. And this one has a lot less space between the things, so it's a little trickier for the vision system. Notice this shape is not quite, I don't think it's quite rectangular. You get a little bit of an angle because you're the way you're taking pictures and stuff. Okay, my intermediate plan. Well, first I want to get the cards we have displaying. Then I would like to take another picture, do another analysis, and match up the cards, and have it recognize that category 3s in this one matches category 3s in that one. Then I feel like I have this thing that can do something. Okay, let me show one more picture, just kind of orientation. This is a picture I just laid out some future work for us here, and I was on James Shore's book club for Art of Agile Development this morning, talking about stories. And, sometimes I use role action context. I don't really use that Connextra as a this. I wanted this, so that. But you can see, like here, I just do whatever is going to remind me enough. And usually it's like verb, whatever comes after verbs. Noun phrase. Hey, Astrid. But anyway, enough to remind me what I got going on. So here we're talking version 1 I'm thinking of as linear. So I want to take the photos and then just produce a list of cards that I can scroll through and maybe do some stuff. So take a picture, extract some cards. That's kind of where we are now. We're kind of on the tail end because I want to extract it on the whole list on the visuals thing. I'd like to do some editing. It would be nice if we tried an experiment on reading my handwriting, and I decided that wasn't going to work. Basically, it looks like it's better at reading handwriting when it's got the pen to look at, so like an Apple Pen or whatever they call it, Apple Pencil. But I could imagine saying, load in card, and then I click something on it and say, oh, I'm just going to type extract cards on it, and then it's got the metadata for it. And if I prefer it, I could leave the fancy printing up, or I can just leave my handwriting up. And then I'd like to be able to flip back and forth, of course, and treat them equivalently. Put them in a list I can scroll or delete, then order them in some sense. Like I would like to be able to say, this is a horizontal order. It's V1 linear, take photo, extract cards, edit card, and so on. And then go to the second row and the third row and the fourth and the fifth. Okay. Notice a 2D grid order is not really, it's not like a linear thing where it's clear what the order is. You have to do some thinking. I mean, the cards they're not perfectly aligned on the tops, right? So there's some thinking about, do you consider this in row 2? Okay. I certainly do as a visual person, but you might not. And my computer might not, more to the point. All right, take a new photo, extract the cards, consolidate identical cards. I just mentioned that one. I'd like to mark new cards, like give them a light green background or something. Mark cards that were now not in the second photo, maybe mark them light red. Reorder cards based on the photo, maybe have some different orderings. I know we have to tweak recognition, so that's why I liked Astrid's link there that clearly goes through and gives you a chance to play with the parameters. So that'll be helpful. And then tweak similarity matching. I'm assuming, we haven't tried it, but there is a, I don't know if it's under vision or images, but there's something that tries to do similarity matching. And I assume it's going to need some tweaking too. Maybe I have to convert the cards to black and white, or, despeckle them or something. I don't know. It may do enough already. But I'm assuming. All right, at some point, I'm going to switch to this 2D grid. I'll need to extract the grid as it is here. Rearrange. So what I'd like is I take my picture, it extracts the cards. They look like the same grid. I take a new photo, and it rearranges the grid to match the new photo. And then the next one with animation, it'd be nice if they all slid around into place when it did that, right? Kind of a cool look. We want to be able to rearrange the virtual cards online, add new cards. And then V3, I'd mentioned the idea of if you had a tablet and you could like move it closer, move it away from your body to zoom in or pull back to get a more panoramic view and tilt, pan, whatever. Move it up and down, left and right to try and, pretend you have the whole thing on a wall in front of you 4 feet away, say. So I would like to experiment with that. That's a little more like it's not gyroscopes, but there's tilt meters or whatever in the iPads and phones that you can use to detect rotation and position and so on. A little bit of VR. Okay, that's way in the future. We may not get there. It depends. I run with this as long as my interest carries me. It's or my fear that after 100 episodes nobody's going to watch. Okay. So I've got some notion of what I'm doing. I've got this new picture that I can use to try and do some recognition. This is just laying on my floor. So I don't know if the vision stuff will pick up these vertical stripes or, think this is a card or something. We'll see what happens. I need to take a variety of pictures. The others, I think, this is a frame. I don't know what you call it. It's a plastic sheet or a kind of a woven sheet that's blue, and then it's got these plastic pockets, and you can stick cards in them, and it'll hold about 8 cards across, I think maybe, and I think it's got 10 rows, something like that. Holds a pretty good number of cards if you need it. Again, just a variety. So when I'm taking pictures, well, that one's boring, but I don't expect this one's going to work. Okay. But these are just pictures of stories I have. Okay. This was sort tables. We did this last year sometime. And, again, just a bunch of cards I have. I've tried laying them on quilts. Let's see. I think this is the back of a quilt. I have some other cards somewhere too that's on a little fancier quilt. We'll see. All right. So my habit has been that I've not been testing my UIs in Swift, but I'm trying to get the geometry out of them. Okay. So what we've done so far is we have this rectangle finder test, and it's, well, that's where that 2 cards is in. We're just giving it the 2 cards that we know are there. I'm defining some boundaries that I know will enclose them, and we run the finder. It takes a closure that it calls once it's found things. Okay. And the argument that we're ignoring, it gives you back the rectangles that it found. It also has them in this method you can call. Okay, so this is XC test expectation is part of Xcode tests framework for handling threads, basically. So I can I create this expectation. When it's done what it's supposed to, I mark it fulfilled. And then down here, I can wait for the expectation to be fulfilled with a timeout. So if it doesn't happen in 2 seconds, fail the test. And then I can go ahead and do some assertions, potentially failing the test. I can also do them in here, apparently. We had an example that did, but it didn't quite compile the same. So I don't know if that's not supported anymore or I just wasn't quite doing it right. Okay. And here we have an assertion helper, just making sure that each rectangle is compared inside its bounds. Okay, so we expect the count to match. I'll just put an extra blank line there. And let's see. Yeah, we expect the count to match, and then we go through and match each rectangle to its bounds. Okay. And if it doesn't contain rectangle 0 is not in bounds 1 here, then there's an error. Okay. Now we went back and forth on one decision here, and the question was, well, the situation was when the image recognizer runs, it returns you back these boundaries, these rectangles, but the rectangles are 0 to 1. So, excuse me, in the x-axis and the y-axis, these boundaries just scale 0 to 1. So this is 45%, 67%, 18% of the screen. I think it's what is it? It's the, I think it's X, Y, and then width and height, something like that. Okay. Let's see. Maybe if I hover, it'll tell me. Come on, I want to know. Okay. Not right now. But anyway, it comes back 0 to 1. At one point we said, well, we should just, we know the image it's coming from because we had it to start with. We should just translate that back into regular coordinates. And what we found was when we were doing the scaling to show the thing on the screen up here in the content view, it's got to be scaled by the size of the rectangle it's drawing into. And so we ended up like we were getting real coordinates, and then we had to divide them back out to turn them back into 0 to 1, and then multiply them again by the new scale of the actual visible portion on the screen. And so we decided, no, we're just going to keep that stuff back as 0 to 1, in both dimensions. Now, I feel like there's still a part of me that wants to pass in a rectangle to scale it by. And I don't know, we will find in here, this is why we need it. But all right. I don't know. That's a lot of background today, but I think we're ready to go. All right. So yeah, so here it's like, how much do I want to do? But I don't like this computation in my UI. I mean, it may not be horrible. I don't know, but it's something, it's a little bit of kind of knowledge I'd rather not make the UI have to be too aware of. And my thought is, if you knew the geometry size, width and height of this thing, and you asked, where are you getting that? The frame. Where's bounds? Okay. Let's see. So the bounds come in. The bounds are the 0 to 1 XY kind of thing. Okay, so that's that up there. We're going to iterate through this list on the bottom and show all the rectangles if at some point. So you have the bounds. I would love it if you gave it's like I would like the geometry dot size. Instead of just getting the bounds, I want to ask for the bounds from one of my results here. I would like to give it the geometry size and say, hey, I want you to display this rectangle at this size using these bounds and these coordinates, and have it give me back the width and height and the XY. I don't know quite how to do that. What will make that right? I think it's going to be, maybe if you gave that in, maybe it's giving back a rectangle that you can get all those things from. I think that might be the case. Okay. Because we got an X, a Y, a width, and a height. So it sort of sounds like a CG Rect. Let me go inside CG Rect real quick. Oh, we can get it from here. X, Y, width, height. Okay. All right. Now, the part I don't know how to do. All right. I'm going to take care of this. That was like our initial thing to make sure the button was hooked up. Okay. I'm going to take this sleep out. Okay. There's no point to that either. Okay. And I think I can hide this window. No, that's not the way. Okay. So yeah, so we called rectangle.finder. What did I just take out? Sleep 1. Oh, we didn't really wait for it properly here. Let's see this. I think he wants that second argument. Yeah, so I dummied in. I mean, it's got a default argument that just a do nothing lambda expression closure. It takes one argument in some empty expression, so it does nothing and it's a void. But really, this stuff that we're doing should be done. Should be done in there. So let's use this the way it's intended. Okay, now I don't know if I can. I feel like I've got something going on a little weird here. Rectangle results finder. It has to know finder. Yeah. Okay, and the result it gets, well, the result is it takes a list of CG rectangles is the argument. Okay, so those are the rectangles that get computed. Okay, the bounds rectangles. So basically we're creating self.bounds and appending in each translated rectangle. So we translate into a top left corner 0, 0, 0 to 1 based system, coordinate system. And then when we're done with all that, we hand the bounds in. So the bounds are really the rectangles. Let's take rectangles. Okay. And instead of results, I'm just going to say rectangles. All right. And my implicit claim is that should act the same, except I probably messed something up. Initial finder was never used. Okay. Yeah, we don't need to do it. We don't need to keep it with this situation. Okay. And I'm going to take this out because we basically, well, let's make sure that's true. Did we use... I find this stuff very confusing, so I got to be a little careful. Let's keep it for now. It's something. Okay. Okay, I guess I can leave this. Okay, so my implicit claim is this button should act the same. Let's make sure everything's lined up. Okay. Okay, and then this one. Good. All right. Run. Okay, so what we did was we replaced asleep with something that's supposed to wait for the... Okay, there we go. The gone is missing, so I know I'm running my new one. And I'm getting the 4 on the bottom again, so I suspect it's fine. Okay, so instead of sleeping, we replaced it with this, what do they call them in JavaScript? Well, it's this closure that gets called at the end, so a callback, I guess. I don't know. That's what I learned it as. I'm not sure what other languages say. Okay, so I think that is progress. Whoops. Apparently that was not the right thing to hit. Let's commit that. Okay, so what we've done is make the go button use callback instead of sleep. Okay. And if you don't do this kind of thing, right? I mean, the vision thing needs a second or half a second or a quarter second or whatever it needs. I imagine it depends on the image. You don't want to sit around and wait for it. So it's a good thing that this thing can run as fast as it can. Once it knows it's done, it calls the closure, the callback, and gives you a chance to do something with it. Okay. Now, I know we still have to be careful about threads, and we haven't worked that out yet. So it's pretty good. Swift is pretty good about warning you when you have thread crisscrosses or whatever, you're not doing it right. So we'll rely on that. All right. So event handler, yeah, I guess you can call it that too. But yeah, one way or the other, it's a bit of code that gets called when you're done with something. And, now you got to wait. You need less of it, but it's okay. It's all good. Okay. So what I would like to do next step is, now that go button returning that stuff, I would like it to change the state of the bounds and have this draw all the images or all the overlays. Okay. And I really don't know how to do it. So here we go. Okay. First thing I know is I want more than one rectangle. So let's do the work to make this go. And I don't know if it'll work or not. I mean, that's my my kind of ongoing challenge. So I'm going to call it rectangles because we're not using that in this part of the code. We use the word down here, but it's a separate variable. Okay, so if I change this to rectangles, what happens? Well, I can certainly rename it. And I had this bound, but it doesn't do it. Okay, so I've done something wrong in my setup months ago and never fixed it. Okay, so refactor, rename. Okay, I'm going to call it rectangles. And our first thing is we're going to make this thing handle rectangles. And so everywhere I say rectangles down here, I need to do rectangle sub-0. I'm sure there's a more glamorous way to do it, but this is what I know. Okay, so I don't have a loop, but I am just grabbing the first rectangle out of the box. Okay, and in this case, that rectangle is the one we've always had. And I can format a little better, I think. What happens in terms of states with array variables? I believe we had that working in the other project. So we'll just assume it does here. All right, so this should show the same thing it always did. Yay. Okay, now, okay, do I want to address this? Okay, there's two parts I'm worrying about. One is I need a way to overlay a bunch of stuff. This is one thing, because I want multiple rectangles in the same coordinate system putting in their stuff. Okay. And the second thing is I do want to fix this. This just bugs me, this multiplication. It's got to happen somewhere. So I'm not bugged by the fact that there is multiplication. I'm just bugged by the fact that I have to do it here. Okay. But let's, I know you can do for loops in these things. I think we want, it's called a zstack. Okay, I think I can do this. A zstack is one that puts it, I mean, if I'm looking at it this way, it's got multiple layers of depth. Okay, and so I'm saying, in effect, this thing will have like 9 layers, one for the first rectangle, one for the second, one for the third, and so on. Okay. A Z-stack with one thing, I think it should be okay. Let's see. Control A, Control I. No, Control A, Control I. Okay. Um, this should be a stack with one thing in it, and I hope it still works. And I don't know a good way visually to do stuff other than this. Now, what I think I can do in here, I know I can have a for loop in Swift, Swift UI. All right, let me let's just go find some example out there. Swift UI for loop. That's a Swift for loop, yes. Okay, for each with identifier. Yeah. Okay, my rectangles do not conform to identifiable. Okay. I can say for each ID one to self. Well, I think there's another way to do it where I just say for each on the rectangle, the whole list. Here's one for each. Okay, yeah, so it looks like I can pass my list in. ID / self. So let's borrow this line. Okay. I'm going to add for each there. So after rectangle, I need another brace. I do that all the time. Control Y. All right. Okay, now for each, let's just do rectangles. Okay. Type blank contextual list type convert. Okay. This expects one thing, which is rectangle in here. Okay. Oh, not quite right. Requires that binding of element to conform to hashable. Does that mean if rect is hashable, it'll work? Now that's funny. I guess maybe ints are hashable and strings are hashable. Swift extension. Extend some type, some protocol. So I think I can say kgrect. So let's try it up here. Okay. I'll say extension cgrect extends hashable. I wonder if I have to do anything. I might not. I think it might default in. Does not conform. Okay, so hashable. Implement the hash into requirement. Okay. Okay. I guess I've got to do this. Okay. Let's go back to that example. Hash into. Call hasher.combine. Okay. well, let's just take self dot. I guess we got these coordinate. I'm just going to take x, y width height. And I think I just do this the 4 times. And okay, I think that's what they described. Same as the components compared and equals. I think that's fine. Call hash or combine with each component. Okay. Let's see if that gets us satisfied here. All right. Okay. If you like min-x better, we'll do it. Okay, so here I'm expecting, what am I expecting? I guess I'm saying we're running through all the rectangles, and if I use them, all right. So we've got our original image. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Width is a get only property. Ooh. What? All right, let me put it back for a moment. NY. Okay, so I'm going to cheat a little. I'm going to run through each rectangle, and I'm just going to display rectangle 0. Okay, which will probably be a different rectangle than we've been looking at, but I think it should display it. So I don't think it'll be visible that the fact that there's 9 rectangles stacked up. Okay. Oh, there are not 9 rectangles stacked up. It's still just the one we had. Let's add a second one. Again, we're just hard coding them for the moment. If we run bounds, okay, let's just take the first one, 0.018, 0.077. Well, let's say 02. We'll round it to 2 places. 02, 0.08, width 0.20, other one 0.21. And hopefully you'll offer to do all the work. Yeah. Okay. Now, well, let's change the order so we write a different rectangle. I think we're allowed to do that in Swift. Yeah. Okay. We'll just see a different rectangle show up. Okay. It's drawn that twice in the same location. Okay. Now, how do I get from rectangles to rectangle? Okay. That's trickier. All right. What is the type of this? Quick help. It is a binding CG rect. Oh. Do I $sign it? Ah, golly. Let's do a print. Let's try print rectangle. Well, let me do it this way. Quote, rectangle. And I'm going to try this dollar. It's just been too long. Okay. Cannot find rectangle, dollar rectangle. Oh, okay. Well, that alarm was to remind me that we take breaks after 40 minutes because I'm terrible at doing that. So let's take a break. I may take a peek and see if I can find an example and remind me how to do this. But we should find a way to get from the binding to the value. Is it like dot value? No. Okay. I'll dig up some old project or something. Okay. Anyway, 2 or 3 minute break, and we'll come back and get the real rectangles working and hopefully get all 9 showing. All right. See you in a couple of minutes. All right. Welcome back. Let's see. I pulled up our swarmed project, which somehow has an error because that was a little basic interpreter. Okay. We're using for each like that. Row maps to each of those. Not a good example. Okay, too bad. Let's just do a quick look. I'm not sure how to ask this, but how can I use a binding? The thing is, I don't want to treat it like a binding. I think it is a binding. We said binding CG rect, right? Whoops. That's not code help. Show code actions. Quick help. Okay, let's take that out for a moment. Rectangle is missing an S at the end. No, what I'm assuming will happen is this rectangle's here. That's not so good, maybe. Well, what I was assuming is this rectangle's here corresponds to this state binding that we have, so that it's an array of rectangles. I think it seems to be saying it's, oops, I'm not doing the right keystroke here. Code actions. Oh, I just hit option by itself. Interesting. Okay, so this is a binding to a rectangle, not a rectangle. So what it should do is iterate through the list of rectangles and give me a rectangle, I guess. What I hoped for was that. Dollar rectangle. Oh, maybe my print, it was missing. That I can believe. Oh, okay. Yeah, if I was missing it. Okay, so if I say, let's try that. Print. Can I just say dollar rectangle? I think dollar rectangle gives you the binding for something, not the. Yeah, it's like I got to get from the rectangle to something else. Okay, so I'm trying to put it in a context where it will be the right thing. Rectangle dot. Oh, this is what I wanted. Okay. Was I doing that wrong before? Cannot convert to property. Width is a get only property. Cannot convert binding. Okay, maybe I can search on that. So yeah, the problem is this rectangle is a binding, and I'm not totally straight on how this all ties in, but basically this is like an observable object, so it's marked as a state, and it can change, whereas most of this stuff is kind of immutable based on that. So you have a binding. I mean, this seems to be, it's array of bindings, right? We decide that. Rectangles quick help. Okay. Rectangles. CG rect get non-mutating set. But rectangle, it just won't give me documentation when it's spelled wrong. Let's see if my search can do this. I wonder why we have such delay. It seems odd. But no. I'm just going to take the binding here. Okay, I'm doing a for each. I got an entity. Hopefully it's the same problem we have. Cannot convert value binding of string to expected type binding. Well, that's kind of the backwards of what we have. Yeah, text.name. Core field data is your value. Had to represent binding. Okay, let's see. Swift UI unwrap binding. That's not it. That's probably more helpful. And that's what's really going on. It's a list binding. Okay. Yeah. Oh, dollar to do. Okay. Dollar rectangle. Oops. And then in here we reference it dollar rectangle. Okay. Rectangle. No, it's more like a lambda, a closure or lambda. So this is the argument coming into a lambda closure or a closure. Say lambda enough and closure enough. But yeah, so this is the variable. So it's supposed to run through this list or this array, and then for each element in the array, this becomes an argument to the closure that is contained in here. Okay, so what this was implying, I should say, is this. Now, I don't know if that dollar sign is optional down here. Okay, that's what they were saying I should do. But width is a get only property. Okay. Yeah, well, unfortunately, I've read a couple, but obviously not enough stuck to get me through here. Well, in my defense, it looks like they've changed something here, but $to-do.title is very easy to read, yes, but does it work? Okay. We need to pass a binding to the collection into the list, and then we'll get a binding to the current element into the closure. Okay. And then they could access to-do.title, but we can't access rectangle.width. Let me just take this off and see if that changes its mind any. I like this syntax better if it's going to work. Okay. So it's a little bit of magic, I guess. Assuming it works, we got a bound variable here, rectangles, because it's referencing this mutable state. I don't take it as mocking at all. I mean, I have I don't know, 4 bookshelves of computer books. There's an infinite amount of stuff you've got to learn. And I'm learned a long time ago, my brain is finite, and I'm afraid it's probably shrinking. So, or maybe it's just all the other stuff that comes in. But I took a Japanese class in college, or after, I guess, I don't know. My wife and I started taking one together, but and like 20 years later, what I know is if someone speaks Japanese, I can go, "That's Japanese," and I'm kind of the same here. It's like, yeah, that's Swift, but it doesn't really help you translate. Okay, so anyway, this syntax, I mean, they changed it from his example. That was 2021. Apparently, I mean, assuming his example worked, now they say, oh, well, you've marked it here as it's referenced to the binding, so you don't even need to put the $sign again. It's redundant. All right. But the good thing is, at least my hope is, if this thing really does iterate through the rectangles and place them according to the different values, we should see 2 rectangles now. And I would feel very good about that. Okay. That one's a little misplaced. It would be hard to know. Maybe what I need to do. Let's see. Let's hit the go button. Let's take some real values. Let's take all the real values. I don't remember. Do I have a... put these here. Okay, I'm going to change this. It's replaced. What did I do? Run? It's not going to run. Find text containing bounds, space with CG rect. Can I say in file? No. I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but I got the job done. Okay, now each of these should complain. Why aren't you complaining? There we go. I want the arguments. I think the commas look right to me. Okay, I'm going to take these 2 out. Okay, I do want a comma here, I guess. Okay. Well, if you just want to complain, it should want more of these XY width height things. Yeah. I don't know. It's a little flaky today, isn't it? I think it would find all these. Build failed and no runtime, no build time issues. What? Okay, I let myself laugh at compilers because I used to work on them. Those look okay. Why colon 3? So obviously something was kind of relying on the current state and X, Y, width, height. You should be complaining about this one. I guess I'll just... Okay, so this is kind of the moment of truth. We haven't tried all these rectangles yet. Okay, that's getting there. All right. I mean, we can see they're not perfect. I don't know why this one. Yeah, something maybe up. I'm gonna get this in the middle. I don't know if I can stretch it. Not much. Okay. I can understand this one, right? Because it's the card's at an angle, but it's kind of surrounding it. This one's chopping it off a little bit. And this one too. And then notice these cards didn't get identified. Now, I think my theory, I think the aspect ratio thing may be coming into account, and that it sort of noticed these two together, but there's such little separation that it just couldn't quite recognize that, you know? But on the other side, okay, so what I think we haven't closed the loop yet, but what we have is it loads an image, it draws the rectangles it has, and it seems to mostly be accurate. I'm bugged by this one because I thought our example. Tell you what, let's put this back in and see if they line up completely. It may be there may be a little margin or something going on. I don't know. It's odd that one thing in the row would get mucked up. No, I guess I would say if I look at this line, it looks a little fat, maybe. Like maybe it's offset by a little, but I chopped these and I've got the same one. The same cards are covered. So I'm going to be okay with it. Okay. Yeah. All right, so I'm getting closer. All right, so now we load an image, we load the rectangle coordinates that the vision system would give us, and we draw the image with the rectangles highlighted, and that all looks approximately good. Okay, what we don't do is we really should start with no rectangles, and then when you execute the go button, it returns those rectangles, fills them in, and the vision system redraws with that. So that's our next step. All right, let me set a timer. I don't know. All right. Now let's close this loop. So I get the go button. I want to take these values, pop them into this array, and have the system redraw with those values. Now, what's going on here? Draw rectangle on image. What is this one? Can I let the bits be filled by? Yeah, that's definitely what we want to do. So I think like we have the callback here, right? Instead of just printing them, we just want to assign this list into this rectangles array here. Okay. So maybe a better name would be like found rectangles. Let's change that. Identified rectangles. Okay. So I like that, but let's check this in. I keep forgetting to do that. All right. So what we've done is the UI now displays the image plus rectangles, and they're hard coded for now. Okay. And I don't know if I was clear here. I think this is not identified because it looks like a single too long rectangle, and I think maybe the same thing here, because these cards just don't have much separation. That may be one of those tunable parameters. Okay, I'm hoping. All right, now this is where the thread stuff is going to get messy because I don't know what I'm doing. And this is why I didn't delete this. So this seems like image request handler dot perform requests. Well, that's what's going on in Rectangle Finder. So, what this one is saying is write this into the global thread and do the thing. But then I think I need to make the update happen in the UI thread. And I'm not sure how that goes. Let's see. Should it paint two long rectangles? Yes and no. I think, let me see if I set something. I thought I set something. Let's check that out. Maybe I'm just lying. Where's the request? Okay, minimum observations. No, I have the option of setting an option. Okay. Somewhere, let's see. I think I'll just say request dot. And there should be like aspect ratio or something like that. And this is probably not the right thing to do it on. I think it's probably, oh yeah, minimum aspect ratio, and then I think there's a maximum aspect ratio. Okay, so let's just go see this. Great. Default 1.0. Default 0.5. So I think this is saying it will look up squares to, and I'm not sure which way the 0.5 goes, but there is a default range. So I think maybe this, my hypothesis is our thing falls outside the default range, because this is, I mean, I think these are probably 3x5 cards. So depending how they do it, right? But 3 to 5 is 0.6. So I don't know if this is a 0.6 rectangle and this one is a 3 to 10, which is 0.3. So if that computation is right in my head, then 0.6 is between 0.5 and 1.0, but 0.3 is not. And so I think it just fails because it's a too wide rectangle. That also implies I can't turn my card sideways, because that would be a 1.2 or something, 1.3-ish. So I think if maybe I can go in GIMP and modify the image to spread them out a little bit and just see if that is enough to make it go. But or we could set this maximum aspect ratio, so, or minimum, I guess. I can set that to 0.2 and see what happens, and we might get a long rectangle at that point. I'll do it just as an experiment. I won't keep it for now because I'm not quite ready to tune it. Let's say 0.2. I think that will fit. And then we'll run. No? Well, let's flip the maximum to just to see if we can. I'll make it even 0.1, and we'll make this 2.0. Run. No? Okay, so maybe my hypothesis is garbage here. All right. But yeah, I would rather it did. I mean, what this teaches me is inputting these things is not just take a picture, boom, all your rectangles get marked and you're happy and go. You know, it's saying like, I probably need to get something like this. I probably need to be able to drag these rectangles, slide them up a little, slide over a couple new ones. You know, I mean, given like the cards are very close in size. I mean, these rectangles. Let's see. Can we see that in the numbers? Width and height. Okay, so 0.17, 0.18, 0.19, 1.36, one fat one. The first one seems a little wider, I guess. And then 0.19, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. You know, they're all very similar width and height. So I think if I can tune it right, I may be able to, like, I could probably provide you a little, almost like a rubber stamp, you know, that you would just drag some rectangle down and lay it over these things. And because they're mostly 3x5 cards, or maybe you have to size it or something, but you know, it mostly will find them, you know. So my workflow becomes a little trickier. If you space it out good, you can maybe take a picture and you're good. If you don't, you probably have to do some tweaking and maybe move the cards around and try again or something like that. I don't know. But it's definitely going to take some tweaking to get all this stuff together right. Okay, so all right. So now I want to do this in a way that it's gonna, like, what the code should be. I mean, really what I want my code to become is rectangles equals identified. Okay. And at that point, and I'm glad it accepts it, but it should reset these rectangles and redraw. Now, I got to think this is not going to be happy from the threading perspective, but let's just run it and see what happens. Another, I guess we can call it a spike. Okay, so when I hit go, oh, okay, now let's trim this out. I'll leave the first one just so we can have something to look at. Okay, so run. I should see one rectangle highlighted. And go should give me 9 more. Oh, I'm not sure where the cockles are, but it warms the cockles of my heart. You know, I'm glad to see identifier, and it was, I mean, it was take a camera kind of, like, how long is that taking? Not long, well under a second. You know, and let's do it again. Let's make this proper and take it out completely. Okay, since I'm closing the loop. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to start with empty rectangles. Might look better like that. Okay. What? Oh, maybe I have to be specific. Now, something's funny to me, like rectangle sub-zero. That's going to blow up. Why am I drawing that now? I think that's old code. Yeah, it blows up. Okay. Draw a rectangle on image. Let's go to that code. It's up here. I don't think we want to do that. I think UI image, source image. I think that's that. UI image. I think we just want this. UI image is this. And this goes away. We were seeing a green line around our thing. I'm taking that off. I don't know why rectangle sub-zero. Okay, let's run that again. Whoops. I thought I commented that out. Okay. Right, so that was my first image drawing stuff before I used the overlays. I guess I never really got rid of it. Or we had the green border to identify anything. Because Astrid's whipping me in shape here on like, don't pick these random weird numbers. Make sure you can just draw the image you think you should. Okay, well, let's do it this way. Let source image equal that. Okay, I don't know why I referenced it twice. Okay. All right. Oh, I still have the green border. Okay. So Go should find the stuff and draw it. Okay. I'm like super pumped here. Okay. So this bottom middle rectangle is a little off to my eye, but the others all look like really good choices. I'm going to lose my C and maybe part of my A for category. All right. What if I rotate? Hey, that's not bad. Okay. Yeah, I lose a little bit of my category. This one's a little chopped too. I mean, he's not centered over what I would call the rectangle. I don't know. There may be, like that one looks a little big too. They all look a little big, most of them. This first one looks fine. The others all seem like the rightmost white dot, which is probably this corner, right? Why is it stretching out a little bit more? And why are these three not, well, I guess at least they catch the corner, but I would expect them to be at the dot, the top left dot of this thing. Okay, but yeah, that's all right. Okay, well, let's push this. Okay, and I'll do a little cleanup. Right, so we now have we take an image and draw rectangles when you hit the go button. Yes, thank you. Okay, and I just want to do some cleanup while we're here. I'm going to move this. It looks potentially useful. I'm still not convinced I'm doing things right on the threading front, but maybe I'm not running in the background thread at all. I don't know. It's fast enough for now. I'll just put it at the bottom as sort of like notes. Okay. Make display use the found rectangles. Yeah, that we have done. Okay. And, well, I guess that's show all identified rectangles. That's really that. I guess I could say all identified. No, I haven't really shared the code. I probably should. I'll look at doing that. I don't think there's anything proprietary about it per se. I mean, all the work is done by Apple in their thing. Okay. All right. And then this rectangle, draw an image. Okay. The green, I think, is coming somewhere else. Where's green? Okay. There's my border green. I'm going to take that off. And, sorry, let me see it again. Okay. Let's take that off. Okay. And I'll just run it. Those couple of pixels may be costing me a little bit of accuracy. We'll see. No, I'd say that's the same. Okay, but I think it looks a little tighter. This was me figuring out how to draw rectangle images directly. And again, I'll just keep it in my notes section. It's we got it. It's in source control too, but make display use the found rectangles. Okay. Just a little bit of simple refactoring. Okay, that's okay. Yeah. This we can pull out. I think it's legit. The way we do that in Swift usually is we make a new file. For now, I'm not really making any package structure, but so we call CG rect. And the convention is plus the protocol. So plus is a legal file separator here, or file name piece. Okay. And this is where I'm defining the hashable protocol with an extension. So CG recs normally aren't hashable, but in my case, I'm so used to IntelliJ, you hit something and it goes like, oh, let me import that for you. Instead, wow, where is that? Core graphics? Wait a minute. Where are we getting CG rect? Sorry, is it really in here? Yeah. I never had to do this sort of thing. And why didn't this Swift UI? I don't think it's coming from that. I thought Foundation maybe would have it. Cannot find. Okay, whoops. That's redundant because I have it in here. And build radio creation. Okay. Yeah, so that separating that file with the protocol in it is typical. And we can take it out of here. All right. And I'll just do a quick run. But I'm not too worried about that one. I'm just happy to see it. Okay, so we'll push this. Refactor, extract, CG rect plus hashable. Clean up dead code. And I think that was it. All right, well, that bell was time for another break, so we'll take a couple minutes, and I think I want to address this. I'm going to bite the bullet and figure out how to do that. So we'll make sure that happens next. I think that'll simplify this, and we may be able to extract a method in here to to do the actual drawing piece or something like that. So we'll go from there. So see you in a couple. All right, welcome back. Okay, what I'd like to do is I would like this computation, all four of these, out of this object. All right, I think what I can do, I would like to make a new one. All right, and I mean, there is a way. All right, so I think I do this. Can I extract this? No. All right. So I'm going to manually extract it. I'm just going to pull this part. And I think I do the same kind of thing as here. I'm going to say, I guess I'm going to make a function. And this is, what would we call these rectangles? They're, they're not, they're overlays, they're patterns. No, they're not windows. They're going to go away, so I don't want to spend a ton of effort on them. I'm saying they're going away because at some point I'm switching from the picture with the stuff drawn on it to the index cards themselves. So I'm going to have to go in the image, take this frame width, height, offset, and kind of use it like a cookie cutter and chop out that part of the image. Yeah, it's not, yeah, card maybe. Let's go with that for now. Oh no, do I do them as, I think I make them separate structs. Again, let me pull up an old project. I don't know if this one does enough to do it. Oh, that's off screen to you. Where's content? View stuff. Yeah, I wasn't using. Yeah, I didn't really use UI, Swift UI very much for that project, so that's not a good one. Swarm did, but it wasn't very much. Okay, body, some view. I didn't pull out another piece. I think maybe Mander does. Let's see. I know I've done it in at least one example, but I don't remember where. Yeah, I don't think. Okay, let's just do it. And okay, so let's say card. We're going to need some arguments. It's going to produce, and we say sum view. So this sum view, I'm not very well equipped to explain it, I guess, but it's sort of an inheritance thing. This thing is building up a giant view object, and it's not subclassing per se, but it's, I don't know. I'm gonna have to dive in deeper someday and figure this out. I don't know it enough to explain to myself, much less you all. But basically, I'm not committing to the type of the view subclass or anything like that. I'm just saying it's going to be some view, and then it's willing to assemble things that are also some views without committing to it. Okay, so yeah, if I have a card that is some view, and it does all this stuff. Let's take this. Okay, and I think this rectangle is still a CG rect by this point. CG rect. Okay. Function declares an opaque type. That's some view. Cannot find geometry. Ooh. Let's see what geometry.size is. Is a CG size. Okay. So a rectangle, and let's pass a size. Okay. So the underbar says don't bother naming the parameter when you call it. Never quite clear as to whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But given they're different types, I think I'm less likely to confuse them, so I'm going to grant myself clemency here. Okay, so we got the size coming in like that. All right. And what I want to do here then is I want to say it's a card with rectangle and geometry.size, and then this stuff is what I extracted. Okay, so and that's kind of this manual way. I copy it, get it looking right here, get the parameters straight, and then try and apply it here. And I'm being careful. I'm keeping the old copy around. My belief is this should work the same. Okay, so let's see if our refactoring is holding. Okay, go, yay. All right, and I can delete this. All right, so now I've made sort of a sub. Well, it's still a view. The view is the rectangle itself. Okay, and it's almost maybe it's a card border. I don't know, because it really is. It's not the contents. It's just the outline. Maybe outline. Let's try that. And I'm using this sort of noun-ish form. That's kind of the object. I could say outline card, and it would kind of be true. But the other thing is, I'm a little bugged by this being second. Okay, in my mind, it's better to place the X, Y, and then choose the width and height. Okay, now, I think card view is going to be something else. I almost want to move into that phase of doing the card extraction. Okay, so this thing, still annoying. The problem is we got the rectangle. So rectangle CG rect. This is down in a low form. Okay, let's see offset. Maybe we can just do a little more. Okay, you give me those things, and I return you some view. Offset X, Y, offset CG size. Okay. And CG size can say width and height. I don't know if that's helpful. Offset XY. We're using the XY version, right? Yeah, so I'm trying to find a way to break out this piece, and the fact is I can make it. I'm wondering if I can come up with a different way to do this thing. I mean, I think there's a scale as well, right? Is that in here? Image scale. That's something different. Scale, that's the one. Multiply each component of the value by the given value. All right, let me try it. I don't know. This is experimental, but I think what I'm saying is, well, okay, let's arrange this a little differently. I think the stroke should come after we've done all the stuff. Okay, I think that's still going to be okay. No, it can't. Cannot be resolved without a contextual type. Apparently, that's the contextual type. Okay, if I scale this thing, scale the view rendered output by vertical and relative to anchor. Okay, let's try scale by size. And then I think this. All right, let's do it that way. It should double scale. Not visible. Okay. I think the scale comes off here. Oof. Okay. The rectangle is scaled by size. Let's find scale effect again. Multiplies each component by the given value. Of a vector arithmetic. I know there's a way to do this. Let's hide this for a moment. Whoops. Try and get this thing back into the range. And maybe scale effect is not the thing I want. Yeah. Let's do a search. download it. Yeah, this is not. I don't think I want this content mode fill. Let's try Swift UI zoom in. Scale change. Scale effect, scale. I don't know what the anchor is. Let's go back. Okay, I'm going to take this out. This should have put us back working. Okay, yay. All right, now I think a scale effect of nothing should do nothing. But I don't know what that anchor, maybe that's the offset or something. That seems okay. All right, let's do 1.5. The content of the view will be altered, not the frame size. Okay, that makes the boxes bigger. They're centered. Okay. Now I'm going to do size.width and change this to a 1.0. No, too far out. Okay. Let's try rectangle.width. Let's do it the other way around. Rectangle.width and take it off here. Well, take it off here. So rectangle width and then size width. Because we know this one is 0 to 1, so that's in the scale it's talking about. Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm going to try the other side. The offset seems, I mean, it looks right to me that if I just slid these overlays over, like I'm offsetting by too much, but I don't know if I've multiplied by this too many. I'm going to take that out and see. Size.width is how big? It should be the size. I believe it's, I think it's the visual size of the image. So let's say it's 500 pixels across, and 300 high or something like that. So the 500 offset. Let me just take it out. If this should zero it, right? So maybe that. No. I'm a little puzzled. Okay. And unfortunately, it's a little tricky to print things in there. Like, okay, so this is... The rectangle we're working with now is full-sized. Okay, so let's see how I think about that. So this thing is scaled... I guess if we said it was 0.12 across... Yeah, maybe that's right. I think I'll let this be the last try. No. Okay. Because rectangle min x is like 0.12. I'm going to revert this. I'm going to let it go. We may figure out a better way. That's what I checked in. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm going to keep the card thing. So let's do that again. Put that part back. Func card outline. And it took a rectangle, CG rect, and a size, CG size. And it had this body. Okay, where this becomes just size. And I think returns some view. Okay. In Swift, if you leave out the return statement, it returns the last object created. So this is fine. All right. Now the call site, we want to call card outline. The rectangle is rectangle. The size is geometry size. Okay. And should just pass or should just work. Okay. Back to that. We haven't really run the tests today. That seems like an oversight. These are not anything. Let's just run this one. I don't think we did anything that would mess it up, but just to be clear. Okay. And we'll commit. Okay, so what we did was extracted a card outline function to draw one rectangle, or to, let's say, create one rectangle. All right, let's see this thing. Make display use the found rectangles. Yes, we've done that. Okay. So take a picture, basic card UI. Let me go back to my picture of stories. Okay, so we're on V1. We took a photo. Ideally I'd like to snap a picture, but this for now I'm just using a hard-coded one. That's fine. Extract cards. Well, we've identified cards in the picture, but we haven't extracted the card itself as a separate object. Okay. And so kind of what I want to happen, you have this main image view. Like once you hit the go button, I would kind of like to switch to a view that is the deck of cards or the list of cards, and maybe they're graphical for now, but putting cards in a scrolling list is not a hard thing if you have cards. Okay. And we don't yet have cards. So if you look at our domain right now, it's weak. It's got this rectangle finder. Okay. And that's it. Let me start breaking things up into view a little bit. Like, I think for now I'm just going to use model and view, model, and then new group view. Okay, so let's we'll leave our app on top. We'll take this as view, and rectangle finder is model. And this is almost, I don't know, I'm going to say utility. I don't really like making utility folders for some reason, but I think that's really what it is. It's just a little thing that's out there. Okay, and deck tests. Well, we'll probably have some at some point, so I'm not inclined to do much there. The deck UI tests, I don't think I'm gonna do that, but we'll see. Maybe we'll play with that just cause. Okay, let's run these again to make sure my organization didn't break anything. Okay, and we'll run the app again just to make sure my moving files around didn't affect anything, but not likely. Okay, so we moved files into groups, model, view, utility. Okay, and then to do, well, the next step, extract card image to card object, I'll say. I don't know. I try and write these things at a level that makes sense from a user perspective, and saying object is not quite doing that, but I think that's an accurate description of where we're going next. Okay. So, what we're going to do is we're going to like right now, the only model stuff is the view, the rectangle finder. So we hit our go button, the rectangle finder goes off, comes back with a list of rectangle coordinates, and we display the card with the coordinates highlighted like we've been doing. Okay. And that's fine. But what I want to do is the go button should go create a bunch of card objects. And I think a card object probably, well, we can see what the options are, but it needs to know the image and the rectangle, or else it needs to extract the stuff from that rectangle. I don't quite know. Yeah, I don't quite know how that's going to go, but it's going to extract that and create a list of cards. And that list of cards should update. I mean, somehow we have to have a card model and a card view in a sense, right? We want that. Maybe the cards can be the list of model objects, but one way or the other, the CG rect is not the right thing for us. Where is that? Okay. This stuff. I would like this to be cards. Okay. And a card, I mean, it knows its image, and somehow it gives you something you can draw. Okay. And it knows like what real text is associated with this. Eventually it'll know, what photo number were you loaded from, or something like that, because we talked about reading a new photo and knowing which ones came in where. You probably need to know like when's the original one and when's the latest one that it came in on, or something like that. And who knows what else metadata we're going to have, but I think the next step is extracting the image to that object and then make the UI use it. Okay. And that'll be a good place to pick up. Next time will be this Sunday, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern U.S. or U.S. Eastern Time. And I think that's, is that 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. your time, Astrid, maybe? Something like that. Yeah, UTC, I believe. Okay, anyway, I think that's 5 hours off from us, or vice versa, more likely. Okay, so we'll pick up next time. We're going to enrich our object model and make our UI think about cards, not rectangles. And so I think this will slightly change. Actually, I don't want to draw this picture at all anymore. Other than like, I don't know. I could see drawing it with the rectangles and then switching to a list view or something that showed the list of cards just in a scrollable list, and see how that looks. And yeah, I think that'll be the next step in this project. And I don't know let's see, where'd my pictures go? Sample. That's extract cards. Then I think we'll probably swap these two. Let's put the cards in the list and then do editing. Oh, put the cards in list in order, then do editing. Okay. And that'd be cool. Yeah, somehow we have to get okay, thank you. Offset side by side so you can add those missed. Yeah. Yeah, we'd have to do something. I don't know how the scrolling. I could see both ways. It's nice to see a couple cards at once, but I'd like to get this linear list at least ordered like this, and then I can start reordering. But editing is probably coming in after that. Getting in the list feels a little more important to me right now. Okay. Well, anyway, thanks for joining me today. Thanks for your comments and suggestions, Astrid, especially there. And I will catch all or some of you on Sunday, and have a good weekend. Thanks. Bye bye.